Hey guys, it's been a long time since I've been here on my Facebook page. I've been hiding a little bit, I guess. I've had, several things that I wanted to share or talk about, and then I would hold back because it just didn't seem like the right timing, or I had too much to say and wasn't really sure like where to even begin. I'm gonna start out this video by letting you guys know that I've come to know some things about myself that are kind of scary to just announce. I'm a truth teller. So whatever my personal truth is, I'm happy to share it. I'm a truth seeker. I'm always looking for the truth and what resonates as the truth. I think of myself as a wisdom keeper. So there is wisdom inside of me that I've been able to access that resonates with truth that might not be as obvious to some people. I also consider myself a light worker. And I don't know if you guys have heard of that or not, but it basically just means that I'm here to change the world. I'm here to change the planet. Not alone. There's many, many of us that are going to do it all at once, but one by one, we're going to use our ability to manage energy and direct energy and undo systems and teach others how to do the same thing to ultimately change the world. And it's going to be really impactful, and now's the time. So as scary as that is to come right out and say, because I know a lot of people don't know what I'm talking about or don't dare to believe in what I'm talking about. I think that over the next couple of months, especially, over the past year, we've had a lot more people kind of stand up and wake up and say, okay, something's going on here. The world is different than I thought it was. And that's going to continue to happen as more and more is revealed about what's actually been going on in the world behind the scenes, as the truth comes out, basically. I thought that I could continue this path that I'm on, this, spreading light and love, helping other people to access what's within them that needs to be healed, because that's really where it's at. We each need to individually take responsibility for what's going on inside of us that we're projecting or adding to the projection of the world. And I thought that I could kind of bypass some of the more stickier subjects, basically like the scary parts of the truth pit that I didn't want to get into, because it's a sticky area and there's a lot of high emotional charge on both sides of issues. And I do see a lot of value in not stirring the pot, in not pissing people off, for lack of a better word. But what I've learned most through my journey is that you can't stay in light and love without facing the shadow parts, without facing, the little blips in the radar that are still coming up that are saying, hey, pay attention to me. So whether that's judging someone you see on Facebook, getting road rage in traffic, like whatever little triggers you might be still having, getting irritated at your kid because they won't do their schoolwork. It's all new and different. I know a lot of us are having that problem. Those little irritations and those little, whatever, like I said, blips in the radar where you're like, oh, that doesn't feel quite good. It's easy to try and look away from them and focus on the positive, but that isn't really the most useful way, because the way that the universe works, when we want something, we get it, right? So if we say that we want peace and love on the planet, and we want equality and we want fairness, great, you can have it. But you need to go through all of this shit before you can get there. You can create whatever you want, but what you've already created and what's already lodged inside of your energy field prevents you from getting there. And that's on a personal basis, one-to-one. We are all creating all the time, or manifesting, if that's what you want to call it. And if you're not paying attention, doesn't mean you're not manifesting. It just means that you're not consciously manifesting. So we do that on an individual basis, but we also do it on a collective basis. So, we have collectively manifested, that time is a valid way to measure progress. And we all agree on this paradigm of what time is and how it works, and we all follow the rules to it. We've all, co-created gravity. You can't just decide by yourself that you're going to fly, because you're not going to be able to, because the collective creation is a lot stronger than your individual creation. If you get enough people to believe they can fly, who knows, it can happen. But that's literally how it works. And so, as I said, whatever it is, whether it's something personal you want or something huge you want, collectively, whatever, when you say you want it, that's great, you can have it, but then you don't get to decide how it shows up. Whatever the easiest path to get through the crap that's in the way is what will come up for you to look at. And in our personal lives, that sometimes is just like, an irritation, like, I'm annoyed at my family. That's a chance to look at it. If you ignore that and you tamp it down and you move on, then it comes up as something bigger, like maybe a blowout fight, and then you're really paying attention. But if you still don't feel through those emotions and get to the root of it, then something bigger happens. And it continues that way until it starts from like a tap, hey, look at this, tap on the shoulder. This is what you need to deal with to get where you say you want to go, to a punch in the face, to, you're getting knocked out by a 2x4 because you're not paying attention. And that can look like in our lives, like I said, little things like irritations, to blow up arguments, to getting in a car accident, to, manifesting cancer in your life, to, death, to, bigger and bigger things that you can't ignore anymore. So in my opinion, what's happened in 2020, this wonderful year that we all love to say is a dumpster fire, the collective creation changed. It hit a tipping point where all of the people who want a better world, where all of the people who don't want lies and deceit and, evil things behind the scenes, those people who truly want this better equal world, their energy has sort of outweighed the energy of the people who just don't want to look and just want things to continue as is. In my opinion, the people who just want to not look and things to stay as is are just blinding themselves. They're really limiting what is possible, because we really can create the world that we all want. We really can create a world that's best for all. There is absolutely no reason why on this earth right now there are people going hungry. There's abundance everywhere we look. There's no reason that that things have to be the way that they are, that we have to be killing our planet and things like that. And the solutions that our human minds get stuck in figuring out are like, windmills and electric cars. But when you look at the data, those aren't any better. We can do so much better than that. And in order to do better than that, we need to be free thinkers, and we need to have unsuppressed access to discoveries about free energy, to unsuppressed access to natural cures that are literally working for people. And now our freedom of speech and our freedom to share these ideas is trying to be suppressed, and it's really scary. But for me, I stay out of that fear because I know that we've already won. So whatever it looks like right now, all the crazy stuff that's happening, the fires, the riots, all of that stuff, and anything that's going to come because it's not over, is a means to an end. And the end is a world that's best for all. We've already won. It's going to happen. So while I think I know the better path, I think I know which president's gonna get us there, or, which path we need to take, or which actions I need to take, I also recognize that I don't really know. I can only do my best based on what I feel is best at the time, and then let the details work themselves out. So it doesn't matter to me who ends up winning the election, right? Because whoever wins was meant to win so that things can play out the way that they need to play out to get to where we need to be. What ultimately needs to happen is every single person needs to take personal responsibility. We can't keep asking the government to fix it for us, because they can't. Look how many years they've been trying to fix it, and you can't blame it on one party or the other. The entire political system is corrupt. It moves slowly. It's inefficient. They all have personal interests. They're all doing things that are just suspect. It's sad to not be able to trust the people that we put in those positions, but we really can't on either side. So I guess, the scariest parts of me coming out and saying what I've already said and what I plan to say in the rest of this video is fear of judgment and persecution. And that's happening big time out there. We've all seen it. You stand up for something that someone else doesn't believe in, and you are going to get teared down quick. You are going to get put in a box and labeled and, bullied, basically. And that is scary. But I have released all of these fears with the blue moon last night. And I have released layers before. Like I said, I was terrified to get on live videos before, and I beat that fear. I'm able to overcome my fears when the timing is right. And I feel like right now the timing is right for me to come out and talk about these things. As weird as they sound, I feel an obligation to prepare those of you who are willing to listen and willing to keep an open mind that there's more coming and it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I hope it doesn't get too much worse, Maybe it's going to be just as bad as 2020. I don't know, but there definitely is more coming and more eye-opening issues and events and things that are going to rock your world. And so if I can prepare you in any way for that, that's what I hope to do. And I also just want to say that anybody who is on the fence or doesn't believe in any of this, that's totally fine too. But if you change your mind, I'll always be here to help you with whatever I've learned or know if you feel the need to reach out. So we're all afraid of change. We want to change, but we're afraid of it. So, when we want like a better world without pollution, that's great, but we're afraid to make the changes in our own lives. We get mad about, people banning straws at restaurants. Yeah, it's like a little piece of it, but at least it's a step in the right direction. And any change that you make in your life starts with small little changes, and the momentum builds and builds. So when I wanted to eat healthy, it was almost like an impossible task for me, especially with a family that, doesn't want to eat healthy with me. It felt like I was never going to win. So I just continued to make small changes here and there and made it less overwhelming by not being so strict on the rules of what it needed to look like. Celebrating the wins, like, hey, we had vegetables today. Yes. And over time, it ended up being better. So we've done things for our environment, like we still use paper towels, but we also have, I guess you call them rags, but they're like cloth paper towels that you can buy online that we can wash and reuse, so that we use a lot less paper towels. I would like to get out of using paper towels at all, and I hope to get there. So just making changes little by little. I've changed over to natural health products so that we don't have, the fumes, and we're not supporting those companies. Just little things make a big difference. But it's scary to step into that change. So what can you do on your own to affect change in your own life that will be a ripple effect out into the world? That's what I want to ask. The hard thing about this world and the manifesting and creating and all of that is that you can literally be standing next to someone in the same place, in the same town, on the same corner, or in the same house, and be living in two entirely different realities. Entirely different. And they're both true, and they're both correct. So that's what makes it really hard for people to, I guess, get along. I don't know, because they don't really see that. So I know how it feels because I can put myself in both sides of the argument, and both sides literally think the same disparaging things about the other side. They're crazy. They're absolutely crazy. Don't they see? Don't they see all the data? Can't they see the facts? Aren't they reading the science? Literally, the same sentences apply to both realities. How do you explain that? Right? How? Some people explain it just by cognitive dissonance, and that's a part of it, I think. When we create our own realities, it's based on our own belief systems and our own experiences, and everything that we've experienced our entire life creates the filter that we're looking at the world through, and it creates in that filter what is most important to us, what we're going to focus on. And so it's like when you buy a new car and then you see that car everywhere when you've never seen those cars before. Now it's in your conscious mind, like it's in your awareness. And so now you're noticing it. Those cars were always there before, you just didn't notice them. And that's the same with like positive thinking. When you start to try to focus on the positive, you see more of it. Where you focus, energy flows. So energy flows where your focus goes, it makes it bigger. So if you already have a set of beliefs about how the world works and how certain people are and what you think about, let's say religion or, left or right or Republican, conservative, whatever, you already have some kind of ingrained beliefs. And sometimes you're not even aware of what those are. They got stuck in your subconscious mind back when you were too young to even know what the heck was going on. But you live your life looking through that lens and gaining proof for your beliefs. So you're not noticing the pieces of information that don't resonate with what your truth is. You're only noticing the pieces that do. So you continue to get this confirmation bias because your brain is like, yep, see, I'm right. Yep, see, I'm right. Yep, see, I'm right. And it's designed to have that kind of tunnel vision to only pick up on the things that affirm your reality, because let's say your ego, basically your brain and your ego doesn't want to be wrong. So it's going to filter out everything that makes it shaky, like, maybe I'm not right. And you really have to gain control of your mind, your ego, your thoughts in order to be able to catch yourself when you're doing that, in order to be able to see both sides and really resonate with what's true for you. So all of that to say that in these high-charged political craziness times, there is no right or wrong, okay? We're both right, we're both wrong. But what there is what do you want to create? Do you want to create the same things we've been creating? Do you want to continue to have things shrouded in secrecy and withheld from you? Not have access to technology for free energy because energy and oil companies don't want you to, because there's a lot of red tape and government involvement in all of that, and they're not going to allow it out? Do you want to have science filtered to a narrative of what they want you to see? Or do you want to see all the science and make your own decision? And speaking of science, like some people are just like all about science, or you're a science denier. And I fall in the middle because I think science is important. It's a great discovery process. It's a great way to look at our world and attempt to figure it out or to gain more clarity about certain things. But what we have to remember is that science is a fluid process, right? And that's what they love to tell us about the masks and stuff. Like, it's a fluid thing. It changes as events change, Yeah, it does. Like, that's why science told us that smoking was good for us and it was fine. Like, science told us that it was fine to spray DDT on your kids way back when. No, it's toxic. And new science says it's not okay. That's why, and then we have people who, point to science for some things, but don't listen to science for other things. So, for instance, the new science of masks work compared to the old science over 15 years that they don't work. Well, now we're going to believe the new science. Okay, fine. And, we're going to believe the science that vaccines don't cause any issues and can't be traced to anything, but we're not going to require them to do any double-blind placebo studies, which is the gold standard in studies. We're just going to go off that old science that was done incorrectly, in my opinion, and just blindly believe that, even though there's lists and lists and lists of studies that show how toxic they actually are, and that all of the ingredients in them are very toxic, and the fact that we get so many of them now puts our bodies in a toxic response, and our environment's toxic on top of it. So to me, when people just quote science blindly, it's just like not as powerful as it maybe once was. And I implore you, if you've just been listening to science or experts or things like that, to really open your mind to looking at the other side. Because as you can all see, there's more and more people jumping on the tin hat side, right? The side that thinks that there's child trafficking going on everywhere. The arrests in child trafficking this year alone have been insane. The side that thinks vaccines cause harm. That's because we know kids who've been harmed by them, and it's not in our minds. The side that thinks that, there are cures for cancer that are being suppressed. 100% there are. I've seen people cured. There are cures for cancer. Why aren't we using them? Free energy. Like, there are people who literally had their lives ruined because they came up with ways to make energy, from the sun. Unlimited, free, clean, clear energy, not windmills where you have you have to replace them every 20 years or something, and then you have to dispose of them in landfills, and then it's just all kinds of issues with that. There are literally solutions in this world, and we need to focus on the solutions. And so we get to decide right now who we're going to vote for. And I feel for the people who stand up and say what they believe in and who they're going to vote for on both sides, because I think that you really open yourself up to, like I said, judgment, persecution. And I'm going to go ahead and open myself up to that right now. And before I do that, I just want to say one thing that I tell my kids, and I've told them for a while: when someone's hurling insults at you, let's say, or someone's saying things that really are mean or hurtful or, make you angry or whatnot, you have a choice. They're throwing those insults, and you can picture it like them throwing a ball at you, right? And you can catch that ball and hold on to it and let that information in, take it on as your own, or you can dodge that ball, step aside and let it fall, and know, that's not me. Whatever's going on in that person that they're throwing and hurling out at me, that's their problem. They've got some judgment to deal with. They've got some, some issues, and I feel for them, and I'm sorry that they're going through that or that they're in pain, but I'm not going to take that on, because I know who I am. And I know that that's not true for me. And I step aside and I let that ball go by. And so in stepping out in this capacity, that's what I'm going to do. And I hope that all of you can learn to do that as well. I was a Democrat my entire life. My dad was a Democrat. My mom was a Democrat. I grew up thinking that the Democrats were the good guys. They were the guys that were for the little guys, right? The party that wanted to take care of people and do the right thing and, help the little guy. And the Republicans were the big bad businessmen. They only cared about themselves and getting more rich off the backs of the poor people. And I truly believed that for years and years and years, just because it was indoctrinated into me from a young age. And I didn't care about politics. I mean, most of us don't really at first, I guess, unless you live in a really political family. I just didn't really care. When it came time to vote, I always voted Democrat. I voted for Clinton. I think that was the first time I could vote. And I watched that whole scandal and was like, oh, geez. But, you know, people suck, and he's a person. And, you know, I don't really even remember. I was very young when all of that happened, a young voter. So it's just like kind of whatever's going on, that's a shit show, and didn't watch too much of it or change any of my views, really. I voted for Obama because, yes, we need a black president. Of course we do. And he's better than the Republican guy. Like, ugh. And he was smart and well-spoken. And I had so much hope for our country when Obama became president. And he was great to listen to, great to follow around. The media loved him. He was, you know, hard to not like. But I personally grew up for part of my life with a man who was hard to not like, right? But there were parts of him that were really easy to not like, and no one ever saw those parts, right? So I'm always aware, like, people put on their face for the public. Who knows what's really going on? I didn't really think about that of him until, you know, certain things started to happen. You know, he didn't take us out of the war like he promised he would. Nothing really was changing. Things were getting worse. The war especially. Like, I just don't understand why we have to be in these wars. It doesn't make sense to me. And the gas prices were going up insane. And then the Obamacare came out. And for any of you that love Obamacare, I'm so sorry, but we were part of the families that got royally screwed. My husband and I were self-employed. We couldn't afford it. It was going to be $1,200 minimum per month for our family of 5. And that's like my mortgage payment. I could not afford to pay it. So then I would have to pay a fine every year, which really pissed me off. I can't even tell you, because not only can I not afford health care and I have to pay for it out of pocket, but now I have to pay for all of your health care. Sorry, but that's where I was. So that made me a little upset. And then before Hillary ran, and actually let's back up a little, because when Bush was president, I didn't know right away. Again, I was young, but later on, I saw the inconsistencies with 9/11. And again, it's a tin hat conspiracy theory. I know, it's fine. Call me what you will. But 9/11 did not happen the way that they say it did. It didn't. It just didn't. I've looked into it. I've wanted it to not be true. It was like, if they can do that, what can they do? Like, if they could be behind that, a false flag terrorism event that killed so many people, and be that shady, that dishonest, that disgusting, like, what wouldn't they do, right? And I still sort of tied that into the Republican Party because Bush was president when that happened. But still, I mean, how many people had to be complicit in that? And again, you know, there's like people that were there on ground zero that will give you accounts of, like, literally there were bombs. It was controlled demolition. There's no doubt about it. The whole thing stinks. And there's, you know, documentaries I'd be happy to share with you if you want to message me that lay it all out, that lay out all the facts and all of the experts that have said there's absolutely no way that what they said happened is what happened. And so that just rocked me to my core. And I get why we have this cognitive dissonance and we don't want to believe it, because it freaking hurts to really, like, let something like that in. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. If you are there, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you aren't believing it, try to open up to it. Try to give it a little bit of airtime in your head and try to sit with that for a second. What if it was true? Maybe I should look into this. So if they could do that, I mean, wow. They're pretty much capable of anything. And the next thing that I found out years later was the So it was the Pizzagate thing, which everybody calls a huge conspiracy theory. And I'm sure parts of it might be, like a lot of it is just connecting dots that maybe don't connect but look really freaking weird. I researched it back when it was like big and all of the information was there, and there was a lot of it, and it was very fishy. There was too much obvious information, actual Instagram accounts with actual photos on them of pedophilia and weird things to discount it. So I'm not saying it's all true, but I'm saying there was way too much evidence to completely discount it. And so I kept an open mind all along, like, geez, could that really be happening? I hope not, I hope not, but it could be. And the Clintons, both of them, were tied into that heavily. And then when the emails came out, there was the same code words that they used in all of the pedophilia things that were connected, and they were connected to the guy. It just was crazy. It really was. And I thought, I'm not going to say it is or isn't, I'm not jumping on either train. I'm just going to keep an open mind. And then I found out that there was a lady in Haiti who was stealing children. They were there pretending to be on the Haitian relief effort for the Hurricane Katrina, or I don't know if it was Katrina. It was one of the hurricane relief efforts for Haiti way back. And she had successfully left with groups of children already, but she came back for like a second or third run or something. And they actually had videos of villagers from Haiti who were talking about the Americans who were coming to help, and they were pissed. And they were like, the Americans, and I can't do their accent, sorry, but the Americans say they're here to help, but they're not here to help. They're stealing our children. And there was multiple stories from multiple villagers talking about how there was something weird going on, that the Americans were taking their kids. And I thought, how odd, right? Well, this is all provable, documented information. This lady got caught at the airport on her last run. She had, I think, like 12 kids with her. And she said she was rescuing these kids because they had been orphaned, and she was bringing them here for adoption or whatever. And she got held and questioned, and they checked out her story, and it found out that all of those kids had homes and parents that had reported them missing. So they held her for kidnapping. Guess who went and rescued her? Hillary Clinton, who was Secretary of State, flew down to Haiti on her private jet, and within hours had her extradited and released on very minor charges. I can't remember what they were, but there was nothing to do with kidnapping, minor charges, and brought her back home. And guess what job they gave her? Head of the Amber Alert. Now, if that doesn't stink, I don't know what does. I was blown away when I saw that. So I'm not going to go into a lot of the other information, but for me, these little moments were moments where I was like, oh my God, like the Democrats, and I didn't even make it about the Democrats, right? It was just Hillary. It was just her. And I thought, like, here she is now running against Trump, because then this was after that. I had already known about it. It wasn't like it came out at the election. Like, I knew about it before it was a big deal. I don't know how, but I found it and was like, ugh. So then she ran, and I was like, I cannot believe she's running for president. Like, I can't. There's no way I can vote for her. And then she's running against Trump. And I don't like Trump more than anybody else. I thought he was like a crass individual. He's a crude businessman. He's probably in it just for himself. He's probably, going to try and rape the country dry and make money, and all for his own self-interest, right? I did not like the idea of voting for Trump. But on the other hand, I had an evil soul hiding in this cute little grandma body who looked so sweet and innocent, but like was literally evil inside. Some of the things that I saw previous, I didn't want to go into too much detail, but there was like definite connections to child sex trafficking. And to me, you can't like in any way condone that or explain it away or anything. And so there's no way I could vote for her. And so I went and I voted for Trump, and I kept it a secret and didn't tell anybody. And then all this year, it's been insane, the narratives, because back then when I voted for Trump, I didn't want to. I was watching both sides of the narrative. So anytime something came out in the media, I would look for the other sides, and every single time the media was misconstruing it. And so I really learned, like, they're lying. Like, they 100% are on a smear campaign, and they're trying to make things look a certain way. And it really blew my mind. It really did make me think we were in like George Orwell's 1984. It was like a propaganda machine. And so since then, each time something's come out, I've been like, did he really? Like, he could have, you know what I mean? I wouldn't put anything past him. He could have done all of the things that they said, and every single time, it's not the truth. It's been warped. It's been changed. And to watch so many people just blindly believe and quote and tear down other people because of the lies that they've been told has been really difficult to watch. And I'm fully aware that some of you watching may not agree with me, and that's okay. And I hope that you can respect that in my reality, with the information that I've been presented, which I think is a fair amount, because I, like I said, am looking actively for the other side. I hope that you can just respect that these are the conclusions that I've come to. As for, you know, voting for Trump and being put in a box of being a racist and a bigot and whatever else, I step aside and let that go by. He has not proven any of those things to be true. He's helped the minority communities and the Black communities more than anyone else. That's why there's so many Black people and so many legal immigrants who are totally behind him. They wouldn't be behind him if he was a racist or a bigot. They just wouldn't. And I guess that's all I have to say. Neither candidate's the answer. Neither one's going to be the be-all, end-all. Trump's not going to save us. We have to save ourselves. But I will say that only one is going to pave the way for us to do that on our own through self-responsibility. Only one is going to protect our personal rights, our freedoms, and going to fight against censorship and propaganda, which is huge. Only one is going to ensure that we won't go to war on foreign lands. Only one signed historic peace deals, 3, I think 4 now. Only one's declared an inner war on child trafficking in America, which is huge. Only one has turned his focus from problems overseas to problems here at home, to rebuilding our cities. And only one has made good on every promise he's made while he's been in office. So for me, I'm just voting for change. It's all going to burn down either way. It has to be recreated. And so I want to have as much freedom to create the change as possible. So that's my vote. I love you guys, and I hope that you took this with love and understanding. And I hope that it helped at least one of you who might be on the fence. And yeah, that's all I had to say about that. Good luck. Love you.